we've seen some common decor mistakes, but are you doing it right when it comes to painting? Let's test your knowledge now with Sharon. Let's go, Brian. Okay, it's time to test everyone on this. Sharon, obviously, you're the pro, and the designers will know as well, but the audience, you guys all have to weigh in on this. I'm going to give you a few questions, okay? Question number one, the best brush to use when painting trim is flat and square. Is this true or false? If you think it's... it's about half and half with the true or false. Sharon, the answer is?
Well, let me tell you, it is false.
It is false!
I thought that was going to be so easy. You guys got to watch Cityline. Okay, so this is a flat square brush. Takes a little bit more paint. It's nice and straight. This is an angle sash brush, which is my favorite. When you're cutting into trim, when you're painting trim, and especially when you're cutting in, you want to be able to get that angle. You don't get the same angle when you're doing it flat. And the ends aren't tapered, so you want a tapered angle sash brush because you're trying. So you want to use a tapered angle sash brush whenever you're trying to get close to something. So painting furniture, certainly butting up to trim, anything like that. I use it all the time personally because I like the way you can twist it around in your hand.
Right.
These are good when you're doing a big area and you want to get a lot more paint on it.
Totally makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, how about this one, guys? To get the best result, you should always paint in this order: ceiling, trim, walls. Is that the right order? Ceiling, trim, walls. If you think that's the right order, it's true. If you think it's the wrong order, it's false. Most people are saying true. Sharon, the answer is
true.
True.
That's why I'm paying. I gotta pay attention more.
Now listen to this. That is a tricky question, and it is a little controversial because if you're doing it at home, you probably do it different because you're slow and you probably tape. Professional painters are efficient. They're fast. They don't need to tape. So they want to get that big ceiling over with, first of all. And then they can be messy. They can splatter a little bit here and there. Not the end of the world. They're not splattering over work they've already done. Then while the ceiling's drying, they can get to the trim. Now when you do the trim, again, it's easier if you can sort of get right into that groove there because that's a hard part. So you don't mind that you've got your white over your trim color. It doesn't have to be white.
Does make sense.
And then, as I just mentioned with the angle sash brush, when you go to do the walls last, everything's done, it's so much easier to cut in like this and get a straight line than to try and get this big brush on the corner, like on the edge, that small edge of trim. So it's much more efficient, but that is a tricky one.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I understand. We hire professional painters.
I admire good painters.
Right?
Like they are worth their weight in gold.
Absolutely.
It's too hard.
It's hard work.
That's hard work.
It is hard work, depending on how big the space is, too. Okay, here's another question for you. A high pile roller is the best all-purpose roller. Is that true or false? A high pile roller is just the best all-purpose roller. Oh, everybody is saying false, including Kimberly and Brian.
Very good. That is false.
You got it right.
One for three.
Let's talk about the different varieties of rollers and what you might need for what.
I think there's no such thing as all-purpose anything when it comes to painting, okay?
Right.
They design the tools for the surface and also for the type of paint. So look at these rollers, Brian and Kim. You've got a really thin, like 1/4 inch. It goes up to 25 mils or a full inch. Then you've got this crazy one that's for brick, you know? So if you use a thick roller, like a high pile roller, on a smooth wall with a glossy paint, let's say, look at the green sample board, if you could pull that up. Closest to Tracy there, that's where I used the thick, heavy roller. You can sort of see this orange peel effect.
Yeah.
And then I used a like a 3/8 of an inch roller for the right-hand side. Same paint, but you can see how you just don't get that smooth effect. So you want to think about what type of paint you're using and where you're painting it.
So this is for if the wall has texture.
It has a lot of texture. Plaster,
Ceilings or...
ceiling, like the popcorn ceilings, you would use that.
Right.
And then this is when it's really heavy duty, like brick.
So the shinier,
cool.
the finer?
Yes, exactly.
Good for
exactly.
you.
Learning.
Good little spirit right there.
I'm not going to paint,
He's
but
not
I
going to
want
get
to
this
know.
wrong next time.
Okay.
You guys were good, yep.
This is all about the trim. The trim and the door color must be different than the wall color. Is that true or false? I'm going to show you an example. So this is the trim color being very different than the wall color. And here's another example of everything meshing in together. They are all the same color. So you can vote. Everyone says false.
Exactly.
And they are so right.
They are so
right?
right.
They are so right.
The trim architectural feature of a space, right?
Yeah.
It's there. It can be really nice, like in that green one, it was the green trim.
Yeah.
It was nice trim, so they wanted to highlight it in that bedroom. Even if it is nice trim, but it's a nice look to get that moody feel to paint out the trim. Everything the same color as the wall, maybe a different sheen. It's very dramatic and moody, and it's very on trend right now. We're seeing a lot of that.
And
Okay,
especially
beautiful.
if you don't have high ceilings, if you paint the
Right.
baseboard, the wall, and the crown the same color, it all feels taller. You're not
Totally.
breaking it up.
And the room looks so much bigger.
It does
one color.
when there's no contrast.
You know, that's the thing.
exactly.
It makes the room look teeny.
Okay, let's talk a little bit
Because
about primer. Primer is always required before painting. True or false? Primer is always required before painting.
Okay,
Mostly false.
Mostly false, which is true, but this is also another bit of a trick question
Wait,
because
false is
Wait,
true.
false is the right answer. False is the right answer.
the right answer.
Yes.
You know what though, Kim? I love you because you can. It never hurts to buy primer and to use primer because you're always going to get a good surface, but it's not absolutely required. If you have a good wall, like a wall that's in good condition, it's you know it doesn't have a lot of repair work. There's no grease. There's nothing crazy on it, and you're changing color. If you use a really premium quality paint, you can get away with just doing your 2 coats. You don't need a primer. But there's certain cases when you absolutely need a primer. If you're doing a dark, certain colors, if you look at that pink one, that's drop dead gorgeous, the color. So
is
it's
gorgeous.
a rich, clear
That's the
red.
name of the color.
That's the name
Yeah.
of the color. You guys are drop
Oh,
dead
I thought you
gorgeous
were
too.
It is gorgeous.
But you can see with the little white stripe at the top closest
Yeah.
to me. That one I didn't use the primer, right? I just painted 2 coats of paint. You can see it looks too pink.
Right.
On the left side, Tracy's side, I used the primer and the 2 coats of paint, and you can see it's richer. You
can see the
color.
difference.
There's a depth.
Hey,
And then-
is tinted primer still a
That
thing?
is a tinted primer. It's a deep color-based primer.
See, I knew that.
You know something?
I knew that.
You do. And what if this is your wall?
If this is your wall, you absolutely have to prime, okay?
using the primer.
Murals, when you're painting your
Crayons,
kids'
murals, smoke stains, marker. Don't just paint over
Crayon.
marker. You'll see that phone number
I
popping
see.
through for years. Okay, you got to use
Yeah.
a special primer for that.
Yeah, and stop writing your phone number on the
Just
wall.
write your phone
Cut that
number.
out.